Okay, guys, thank you very much for being a part of this and participating in episode number 3. Um, Today, we're going to talk about the role of the state in a society or a civilization, and what the ideal model or prototype for a state or civilization should be. So, just to throw a couple ideas out there, please think about economics, think about security, think about administration of resources and infrastructure. Consider a few different existing models. Think about a few different models of government and society that exist today, currently. And then think about the objectives, what the ideal society should look like. Should there be nations? Should there be one government of the world? Should there be a private sector? Should there be um, a military? What should the function of a government be in a utopian society? And what does a utopian society look like? I think this is a great conversation because you guys know I'm from the US and we have a variety. Each of you guys brings a different perspective. We have a variety of a mixed group here. So share your perspectives and just when you give your opinion, just give us some insight as to why you have this opinion. Explain your opinion. All right. So guys, we're going to use a time limit today for speaking because if not, uh, we won't be able to speak. Each of us won't have enough time. So we're going to have a 5 minute speaking limit for each question or each topic. So guys, I'd like to open up the floor to you, and let's start by describing what a utopian society is and what is the objective of a society. What should the ideal society look like? Anyone?
Okay, yeah. So I can start if you want.
Dude, kick off for us.
All right. Yeah, from my point of view, this is very difficult to define. What is a utopian civilization? Um, because I think there is a lot of mm, meanings based on what are your convictions. Um, and their ideals and all this stuff, or your thinkings about how a so civilization is. So for me, for a utopian civilization must be focusing on equity of opportunities and also the harmonious coexistence. Um, and I think eh, for me, the utopian civilization uh, could be rich in the future, where technology has solved many of society problems, and leading this equality and liberation from you know uh, maybe laborious tasking and all this stuff. So so yeah, that's what's something uh, it's a meaning for me. Like uh, for me, the principal stuff in a utopian is equity and harmonious coexistence. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to piggyback off of something that Brian said. He mentioned that in a utopian society, in a futuristic utopian society, that perhaps technology has solved a lot of the problems of repetitive tasks and things like that. And we can see nowadays, currently unfolding before our eyes, the application of artificial intelligence and robotics, advanced robotic systems, which do everything from building cars to fabricating skyscrapers. We're using AI systems, data collection systems, data analysis systems to quantify and provide analytics on every process that we do. So I think Brian's onto something here. Do you guys agree with what Brian's saying here, his description of a utopian society or civilization? And can you contribute to his idea? Can you detract from his idea? Please, guys, feel free to speak.
I mean, I think technology is one of the aspects that can help to improve this utopian society. But also, I think we should gather a common thinking in this society, where allow us to be more aware of the other ones, how other people's things and all of the things. Um, so I think, yeah, technologies to improve this um, repetitive task, and also see other perspective that sometimes we don't have as a human, right? We don't have that easy in an easy way. So technology can bring us that the kind of stuff, right? That's perspective from to solve a specific problems. So yeah, I believe that. But also I think we should create this common vision as a society, and where we want to what goal we want to achieve, and all of the stuff, right? That's important as well, as I see this. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So, Edward, you talk about technology, but what about a utopian society? Is there something that you would contribute to what Brian said? What does that mean, utopian society? What does that mean for you? Does that mean no war, no militaries, no terrorism? Like, I mean, what are we talking about when we say this?
um well, when we talk about this utopian society, um as I see it, when we this society has a common goal, as a common vision, something like that.
Right.
For example, something that we want to achieve as a society is no war, like you said, right? This is a common goal, so we should all together point to that direction, to point
Correct.
to that direction. So it's a common effort that we should achieve. So when you as a society um, um, grasp that understanding that you need to achieve that common effort, um, in order to achieve common goals. So you are going to achieve that utopian society. That's I see, right? Technology can help to do that as well,
Mhm.
because somehow it's a common effort that as a society you build technology, right, to achieve this goal.
Okay. Um, so within what you and Brian are talking about, so no war, and I love what you're saying about having a common goal, a common objective. I think that's necessary. Are nations, can nations exist in this framework? Or are we talking about a one planet civilization? This is a big controversy, right? You have nationalists who take pride in their nations, and they want to fight for individualism and individual sovereignty. And then you have globalists who want to create a single government or a single ruling party or class or however you want to government, um, for the world. So what do you think, guys? I mean, Edward, is does in this framework, are we talking about nations or one world government?
as I mentioned before, we need a common vision, right? As I see a nation, as I personally see a nation, it's like a common group, a group of persons and a group of people that have a common has a common culture and share some behavior, something like that. That's when you draw some lines in the map, right? So that nation has some specific history. Of course, you can share that history with your neighbor nation, but with you a specific that, let's say, bonded context, you have some history that share among all of the people that live in that country. Right? So this is how this is how I see a nation.
Okay.
So when this utopian society that I see is exists, I mean, nation exists in this framework as I see it. Just again, maybe I'm wrong, right? But as I see it, nation should exist in this framework
I get what
because,
you're saying. Okay. So you're
yeah,
saying to maintain individual culture and to not lose, and I agree with this. I have to say that I agree with this point. I think that it's important to maintain our individuality and our culture, right? I mean, wherever you're from, there are beautiful aspects to your culture and your ancestors and the story, the origin of your people. So I think one of the issues with a globalized world is that cultures lose their essence. Whereas when nations exist, cultures can maintain this essence. However, let's look at Ecuador, for example, or the United States. Ecuador is not a monoculture society. Ecuador is a mix of many cultures, right?
Yes.
You have the native Ecuadorians, the indigenous Ecuadorians, you have the mestizo Ecuadorians, you have Afro Ecuadorians, and you have different groups of indigenous Ecuadorians. You have regions that are distinct. You have costeño Ecuadorians and serrano Ecuadorians. So a nation is a weird arbitrary line, right? That kind of separates you and distinguishes you from regions around you
Yeah.
based on cultural similarities. Yeah, Brian, go ahead, man.
Yeah, yes. As you said, I think um, from my point of view, I think a globalization it's a key in a utopian civilization. Because as you said, I think the mix of cultures, it's important to to get more visions, to get more solutions to our problems, and you can get a different point of views from different cultures, and also share all of this knowledge into a same database, to say something, or to share into in the same frame. You can take and manage decisions and resources in order to improve the equity of the society. Um, yeah,
So you're saying in a globalized world, it's easier to achieve equity.
I think so. Yeah, I think
So,
so.
so that's a very important point, and let's talk about that for a moment, guys. Not every nation has equal resources and natural wealth. Countries like Ecuador or Venezuela have an abundance of petroleum and oil, fossil fuel resources. But let's look at a country uh, like, let's choose a Caribbean country. Look at Jamaica, for example, an island nation without those natural resources. So, can there be equity in the world or equality? And we'll talk about the difference between those two. But can that exist if you have nations that are competing? Or do you need to have a one world united type situation? What do you guys think? This is
Um,
great. Yeah.
yeah, I can. I want to add something.
Go, yeah.
Yeah, it's regardless with the regarding to the this uh this division of the resources in the world. Uh, and I think, one of the problems right now in the world is that indeed there are a lot of resources distributed
Mm-hmm.
around the world.
Distributed. Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. And there are competence for each nation to get those resources, and if you don't get that resource, or you don't have this resource in your nation, uh, uh, that nation um, mm, has uh, to make all the possibilities to get that resource. That includes to uh, um, develop wars or develop these kind of conflicts in uh, between countries. So I think we can eliminate or delete these problems if we can share the resources through the country, through nations, between nations, and can to manage all the resources in order to give uh, each portion to who needs, right? So
So, Brian, it sounds like what you're saying is almost, and I don't want to use the wrong terminology, but it almost sounds a little bit like a socialist model where regions that have resources help and subsidize regions that don't have resources. So, for example, countries that are resource rich, like Russia, for example, could aid or collaborate in countries that are resource poor, like Jamaica or one of these countries that doesn't have a lot. Is that what you're saying, Brian? Like a collaborative effort?
yes, but I wouldn't see it totally as a socialist system. Um, my point of view is more to in order to collaborate, as you say, to collaborate is not like to take all the privacy sectors and destroy it, or prohibit it, that part. I'm just trying to say that
Collaboration between.
collaboration and
Okay. So
yeah,
you're not specifying the model of government or anything like that. You're just saying
no,
collaboration between nations or
yes, no,
regions. Gotcha,
exactly.
man. Gotcha. Okay, well, Javier, Omar, we haven't heard from you guys. So, what do you got for us on this?
Hi guys.
Yeah. Uh,
I'm sorry, Javi, go on.
go ahead, no problem.
Okay, I would like to add some key points about what I consider about an utopian society, because I agree with equality that we're talking, Brian and Eduardo. And the idea is that people are treated with dignity and respect, regardless of background, regardless of race, regardless of religion, or anything that may somehow classify them in a specific group. So the idea is everybody is equal, and opportunities are accessible to all, and there is a strong social safety feeling about government, or about how people are treated. And also it is the same about the sustainability that you were talking about, because the idea is that people exist in balance with the environment, using resources in a wisely way, and protecting natural world or natural resources. And the same for the sense of peace or the sense of harmony, because the idea is that there shouldn't be violence in that society, and conflicts between people or nations should be null or should be rare, and people should learn how to resolve or how to solve problems in a proactive way, or in a peacefully way. Also, the idea is that there should be some kind of contribution or willingness from people to contribute with each other, with the idea to I don't know, to feel or to have the sense about fulfillment, about what they want or what they need, and also how they would like to improve every day, how they like to get better. And the idea is to respect each other, adapt to constant ideas or constant changes or even challenges that they could face every day because of I don't know, new problems, new discoveries, or anything that may represent some kind of discussion between them. So that's my personal idea about a utopian society. That's what I would like to add to Eduardo and Brian ideas that I agree with them.
Nice, nice. Okay, so I think we kind of all have a similar idea of a utopian society. But I would like to say what Edward said about having a vision, right? I think that's key, right? And I think that vision has to be human health. We have to look at everything through the lens of human health. And I mean our food, our air quality, our use of resources, the way we administrate our resources, the way we organize our governments, it all has to be through the lens of human health. That's in my opinion. Javier, what do you have for us, man?
Yeah, yes. I agree with my partners. Yeah, I think that the more important in a utopian society, right? People have mainly poor people have opportunities to grow in their life, right? Because the only government around the world or multiple governments, right? Offer these opportunities to people, right? And I think that it is super important that there are some things they share in all countries around the world, right? For example, the science, right, or new discoveries for in science. For example, right, the vaccine for COVID-19, right? When if a country discover a new vaccine for cancer or other diseases, they must share this new discovery to the other countries, right? It is something about super important for life of people, right? Uh, this is my opinion.
Awesome. Okay, so you agree with the idea of collaboration between
Yeah, exactly.
regions. Now, do you guys believe that let's start to define In just one second, I'll come to you, Brian. Let's start to define things a little bit, okay? In a utopian society, let's say it's a futuristic utopian society, let's define, is it better to have nations and regions or one globalized world? So what do you guys say?
For me, just to clarify that, for me is a globalized world.
Okay.
No frontiers, no nations. Yeah, this is from my side.
Okay. Thank you. And Brian, go ahead with your question.
Yeah, well, I just wanna say that I agree with the idea of a vision, you know, of a single objective through the people in that utopian civilization. But um I have to say that I disagree um with the idea that the only or most important benefit is the one of the human species wants. I believe that the equity that I have spoken uh, is something that we need um, um, to take account through the all types of life and even respect for the planet. So seeking the most friendly way to coexist with everything.
Okay.
Ju- Just just to add that.
Gotcha. Okay. So guys, Edward and Omar, have you had one nation, one world nation, or individual nation states, a federation? What's the best model?
I believe, I mean, if you have one world nation, only one, right? A single one. At some point, you are going to have the same group of people that share the same behavior and belief and all of the things, right? Because at some point, you will need to these religion things. You will need um, um, this common behavior and all of the things. If you eliminate border right now in this moment, I mean, to achieve this as a utopian society, you still have this group of people that share the same behavior, right? So the problem is when it comes to shares your your resource, um, probably you are going to have the same behavior as nation today, right? So because probably this group of people are going to um, put some priority over the people that I mean are closer than the other one. So I think nations are inevitable. I mean, at some point
Inevitable.
you
Yeah.
inevitable. You at some point you will need it. I mean, somehow or another. I mean, there's gonna be a nation on it. So, um, but I think, as I mentioned before, we need to understand that we need a common goal, and that those common goal needs to be like um, um, nation scope and global scope, right? It's
Mhm.
not because other nations have some problem, it's not my problem, right? You
Right.
need to understand that, and also the resource that I have, I'm not going to keep it. I mean, all of them, right? Because I don't want to share because that's not my problem. We need to understand that that's not our problem. I mean, as a society, as a global society, it is our problem, right? So this is what I see about globalization and nation. I believe we should have this nation because it's a bounded it's a bounded society. So of course we need diversity and common other vision, and because this brings some innovation into the society. But we should at some point there's gonna be um, um, this common vision among a group of people, you know.
I get what you're saying. So you're saying that it is inevitable for nations to not exist, that they organically form with people that share cultural similarities or are in a region together. But you're saying this is good because it brings innovation, but it's also necessary to be aligned with the focus and the common vision for humanity, the species, right? Like where we want to go and what we want to be. I think that's good. And Edward, I think I agree with you a little bit more than Brian, right? I'm not in favor of one world government simply because I do not believe in the concentration of power. I believe that power corrupts completely. So I believe that the fragmentation of power is good. However, it could be more susceptible to corruption. So that's one of the issues. And we'll get more into that. So, Javier, and Brian, just I'll come back to you. I'll circle back to you. But
Yeah, sure.
Javier, could you tell us what you think? Is it better to have one world government or individual nations? Or Omar, take it for us, man.
Yeah, sure. And I believe that talking about utopian society, it would be great to have a globalization world or a globalized world because as you said, Steve, you have the power, you have the control, or you have the way to do things in an easiest way. And of course, the idea is that if you guarantee that people are treated with dignity, that people has access to things like basic needs like food, clean water, a home or a shelter, healthcare, and education, that could be the ideal society because you don't need to compete, or you don't need to have violence. You don't need to I don't know, to have a violent behavior against anyone, because you have the guarantee to live in an equality society, or in a society with some I don't know if it is okay to call rights or guarantees to have a fulfillment life, and then you may feel I don't know, like a person with no need to compete, or no need to be in war, no need to steal, or no need to damage or harm anyone else, because you have all the required things to live accordingly with other ones. So that should be the ideal world, talking again about utopia. And I was also thinking in John Lennon's song, Imagine. So that would be exactly the utopian society that I would like to have. And that should be great. A world with no religions, no borders, no violence, and anything that may represent some kind of fearness or damage to another ones. So that's the ideal world for me, and the utopian society.
Okay, okay. So, Omar, you actually agree with Brian. I actually agree with Edward. I don't believe in now I believe in obviously global trade between nations, but I do not believe in a centralized power. I do not believe in a one world government and a centralized power. Now, I understand what you guys are saying about equity between people. But the thing that I disagree with your comments, Omar, is that a lot of times people often think that crime needs an economic solution. So if we give people enough food, if we give people enough water, if we give people a home, and if we give people the things they need, we won't have crime. And that is only true for certain crimes. other crimes are not related to economy. So I don't believe that this utopian model can be obtained through an equal distribution of resources. I don't think that I believe that that's communism. That's essentially saying if we all have the same thing, we can all be happy. And my problem with this is some people want more than a basic life. Now, I don't believe that children should starve and children shouldn't have homes and children shouldn't have education. And of course, I believe that humans deserve a dignified life with education and quality health care and, you know, a roof, shelter, food, the basics. I agree with that. However, the question is, how do you get that? And who provides that? Right? And with whose money? Who's paying for that? Because someone has to pay for that stuff. Right? So this brings us to our next question, guys. We talked about utopia. Now let's move to the topic of the role of the state. Okay, now I'm just going to throw out my personal opinion and then you guys do the same. I believe in small government interaction. I don't believe that governments should be large bureaucracies with thousands and thousands and thousands of employees who are managing the social problems that exist. Because many times these bureaucracies become problems themselves. So, for example, if a country has poverty, which obviously a utopian society wouldn't have poverty, right? But let's say reality, poverty exists. What do many countries do, including the United States? We have a social problem like poverty. So what do? We create an institution or an agency to combat poverty. And we say, hey guys, it's your job. This is your job. And they say, great. The problem is every year they say, man, we need more money. Poverty's increasing every year. We need more money to fight poverty. And what we see is that the bureaucracies grow in size, but the problems are never resolved. And this is because of corruption, because people see the state as a source of jobs. The state should not be a source for jobs. I personally believe that the state should not have any salary. No one working for the state should have a salary. It should be based on volunteer time and effort. There should absolutely be economic benefits to doing a good job serving your nation. But I don't believe that money and politics should be involved. Okay, so I believe in a smaller government and less interference. I also believe in a private sector. I think it's important to have a private sector for innovation. Okay, however, what is the role of the government in my view? The role of the government is to facilitate the goal that Edward mentioned, that Omar mentioned, the vision of human health, the ideal human existence. So they need to enforce rules that obligate the private sector to do what's best for humans. So that's kind of what I think the government should do. I don't think we should have big, massive governments, smaller governments. And as far as military and things, we can talk about that. But what do you guys think? What is the role of the state?
Before giving my opinion, I have a question for you
Sure.
about your statement. You mentioned that this government should facilitate the goal and provide this common vision and control somehow this private sector. What is I mean, because if you take the theory about the government, that is the definition of government. At what point you think, or what do you think that is wrong in our system that it makes this misbehavior from government? Because in theory, they have to do that, right?
Right.
Uh,
That's a good question. That's a very good question. So you're saying why, if the role of the government is to regulate the private sector and protect citizens, why is it not functioning? And the answer
exactly.
is corruption. The answer is corruption. The corruption that we see in the United States, for example. We see this in big pharma. We see this in the FDA. We see this in these big regulatory agencies. And we see something that's called the revolving door policy. So what happens is, let's say that I hire Edward to work at the FDA. And I say, Edward, your job working at the Food and Drug Administration is to regulate fast food companies like Burger King and McDonald's and ensure that they're not putting too much sugar in their food, in their products. Okay, you have your job, you have your mission. What happens is that McDonald's pays to have research done producing the scientific evidence that benefits their position on sugar. And they change the narrative of the science. And also, they come to you, Edward, and they say, hey, Edward, right now you work at the FDA. That's perfect. But in 4 years, when your term working at the FDA is finished, we have a job for you at McDonald's at the corporate headquarters. But we need you to make some regulations that are not so strict on our business. So there is a corruption between the regulatory agencies and the corporations that they are regulating. And this corruption happens in many different ways. That's the answer, Edward.
Yeah, but at some point I mean, because you are putting human there. I mean, human are is can be corrupted, as you mentioned,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
And can corrupt the entire system and for lose the entire goal and vision and all of that we have, right? Um, Even if you put a machine there, you can corrupt a machine even,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
As well. So it can be biased that to benefit some group of people instead of a global vision, right? So this is what I see about government. I mean, at some point, we need to facilitate. I mean, in theory, the theory the one that you mentioned before, but I think we are missing some other points about governments, like, for example, the possibility to be totally transparent about their work. I mean, I believe there are too many secrets in our government that makes, I mean, they are doing stuff that potentially going to improve the life or of society, but they are like you know, don't worry about us. So we are doing our job. So don't let's us do our thing, right? So you choose us to improve your quality of life. Let me do my job, right? I think this one of the problems that we don't have that vision in our governments. We don't know what is happening right now. Right now, someone and some in some place is making a decision that is going to affect our life and our children's life, right? So, but we don't have that vision. We don't have that visibility of what's happening inside a government. So, I
Yeah.
think um, I think that's a key point that maybe can improve our system and the government. I do really need I do think that we need a government because, as you mentioned, this is going to control the the, the private sector and and make sure that we achieve that common goals. But I think that we need more vision what's happening, more visibility what's happening inside there.
Bingo. Transparency. I agree completely. But here's the issue. I'll talk about my country for a moment. If we talk about like the CIA. So Congress, every year, Congress gives hundreds of billions of dollars to the Department of Defense. What is the Department of Defense? It includes the military and the Pentagon. It includes the intelligence agencies and the services. And it includes the protection or homeland security apparatus. Now, every year, Congress gives billions of dollars. But the problem is the CIA, when Congress says, okay, we need transparency, where is all the money going, CIA? Sorry, it's classified. It's classified for national security. So these bureaucracies that are tasked with the protection of democracy and receive funding from the public refuse to provide transparency, and they tell us it's for our safety. We can't be transparent, Edward. The terrorist will kill us. Okay, guys, I'll shut up. Who else? Who's next? Anyone, go for it.
Okay, I would like to say that I do agree with Edward and Steve, and transparency is very important for governments and for its citizens, because all we need to know where is the money or what for is spending for. So I think that there are some key points that we should consider about government or about states that I think that they should guarantee to its citizens, because they need to propose ways to guarantee security and protection. People needs to feel like they are safe, or that they are if some other country tries to be in war with us, we need to have the safety, or we need to have the feeling about I don't know, military forces, or how we are going to protect our borders, and also how a state is going to guarantee us if we have some kind of natural disease, how we're going to or how government is going to respond, or how they are going to face those kind of emergencies or diseases. And it is the same if we are talking about laws or about justice, because government needs to guarantee some kind of impartial legal system. And also, if you need to be judged for anything, you need to feel like a state is providing you a system that it is fair, and that you are going to have your problems solved in a fair way. Also, the same if you are talking about social safety, for instance, it is important to ensure citizens to have access to necessities like basic needs, like we talked previously about food, home, and healthcare, and also education. That's very, very important. And I think that independent of an utopian society or a real one, a state needs to guarantee those basic needs. And also, you need to have the visibility about money using on infrastructure or public services, and you need to have the certainty that they are using your money from taxes for instance, public transportation, water or electricity, or how they are going to improve that infrastructure to give you the best according to our times. And finally, I think that they also need to not guarantee, but they need to give you some kind of economic opportunity, so you can have the feeling that you can participate or you can be part of, I don't know, some kind of enterprises, companies from state that need some kind of resources from people, and you need to have the transparency about participating on those projects, and also have some kind of work for you if you require it. But I don't know. I know that that's not some kind of obligation from a state, but you need to generate opportunities as government so people can take advantage of that. Yeah, so that's what I would like to add.
Excellent, man. Okay, so a lot there, a lot to unpack, but I got it. I got it. Um, so I mean, Brian, Javier, yeah, Brian, take it for us, man.
Yeah. Well, I first of all, I have to say that I disagree with with the idea of the to have a government and who well yeah, to have government to who can needs to handle everything in the public sector, and also like to uh, to manage also the private sector in order to improve the public sector. Okay, um, I I have to say that the corruption uh, is not something inherent to the concept of government, to the state. Uh, I mean, it's something that belongs to the human species, and I think that the one way to combat the corruption is or will be to make this more difficult to make, to corrupt something. So if we complicate that issue, I think well, I believe that case will not appear. So how we can complicate to make corruption? It's I think it's through other technology, through technology, um, and uh, and yeah, I think maybe utopian civilizations, uh, the government, or well, the way how it's government governance, it's through make decisions in a collective way, uh, and also transparently. I very agree that transparency is very important in utopian civilization. Um, and yeah, but I mean that the participation of each person in that society is very important, and we can transform the way that we see the state right now, because we don't live in a utopian civilization. We don't, we not. So um, we have to change that vision of the state that we have right now, because probably in the future, or in that imaginary or hypothetical um, situation where we have a utopia, um, uh, um, yeah, um, the way that we see uh, the government is not the same way as it does in nowadays. Um, and yeah, so yeah, that's why I believe in another form of uh, uh, handle or manage all of the resources and problems and issues that appears in the society. Um, and it doesn't mean that there is no governance, so there is no, like something, uh, uh, oh, well, there is no government or something like that. Um, what I'm trying to say is just like governance needs to works in a different ways, and uh, and yeah, and to have a good or efficient government, we need to eliminate the corruption, uh, uh, from the people, not from the government or per se, or the entity. So, and we can achieve this, making all of the people in that civilization has the access to all of the decisions that are made.
So, Brian, you're saying essentially that human nature is the problem. It's the cause of corruption, and that corruption is the problem with our modern society, and that we need to change the way we see society and integrate AI to help us fight corruption. That's what I heard.
Yes, yes. That actually that was what I tried to say. I think we can use AI as a tool, uh, to make decisions even. I don't know that all. I'm not saying that that decision will be done. But I say we can get more options, more um, ways to do something, and through the, I don't know, there are a lot of tools that we can use to uh, have a decision in conjunction, as a group of people, but globalize it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Brian, I have to say I'm a little bit scared of your vision, my friend, because your vision is a one world government utilizing AI to it, and it sounds like you're describing Skynet. It sounds like you're
Actually, it
describing
sounds like,
Skynet.
yeah, but with the difference that no more theirs will be there.
Right. Well, that's what they say, right? That's what the people in power say. They say, "Listen, I can create a reality with no murders. Don't you want to be safe?" Right? So, I'm a little suspicious of that, and I'm a little bit scared of that integration of AI into government. And I
Yeah,
think that's a
the,
good conversation that we need to have is it ethical for governments to use AI? And if so, in what application or for what? And should there be oversight? Should there be government oversight? Or should there be citizen oversight or some type of body to oversee how the government is using artificial intelligence? I mean, this is a game changer. Um, so
yeah,
interesting.
just to add something. Um, yeah, I believe that that the use of AI by the government could be actually an improvement for the society, and this is why, and this because uh, well, the really point here is like, instead of do all the power to the AI to make decisions, um, I think what it should be is the AI uh, will or should give us um, options and many, and analytics statements
Mm,
to people make decisions, to people take those decisions, and not by the AI, just to use it as a tool, like because it is a tool, and not give the power to the AI. We still need people taking decisions. We still need people doing or you know analyzing those options that the AI give us.
Okay, gotcha, man. And I can agree with that, right? Okay, so Javier, do you have anything for
No
us
Skynet.
about the role of the state?
Yeah, I think, in my opinion, the solution is a group of countries, right? No only country as now, no only government in the world. A group of countries, for example, in Latam, one group, uh, European countries, other group, and different groups around the world, right? Because for me, it is necessary people keep their identity, right? The same custom, the same religion, or the same things that it is an identity for people, right? And relate to the rules. Obviously, this groups of countries to have rules to improve the life of people, right? People have to have opportunities to hear, to study, to economy, in the economy, right? In the health, in the study, right? I think that it is the best solution for this kind of thing, right? Yeah.
Nice. I got you, man. I got you. So we all, I think, agree that education and equity are important things in a utopian society. We disagree a little bit about the role of the state, but we believe that it's important to have a common vision. So guys, we're going to have other episodes in the future where we discuss other topics. I think we've gone about an hour. I think that's enough for this one. But I want to say thank you guys for giving us your time and sharing your thoughts and, your opinions. And hopefully one day we will achieve that utopian society. If you listen to the news, it doesn't look like we're moving in that direction.
Mhm.
But hopefully we can turn this thing around and we can go the other direction towards utopia and not dystopian Skynet reality, right? Neuralink in your brain, you stay at home all day. Hopefully we can recreate ourselves and reinvent ourselves. So guys, we'll end on that. If anyone has anything to contribute, please contribute. And if not, I'll see you guys next time.
See you. Wonderful, wonderful conversation.
Okay, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks for inviting us, Steve. See you
Awesome.
guys.
Thank
Yeah.
you. See you guys.
Guys,
Okay.
Steve, to give us this opportunity to share our opinions and create this place to debate. Yeah, it was I very grateful with that, and thank you guys to stay here. So yeah,
Awesome, man. Thank you. My pleasure, guys. And we'll do it again.
Thanks,
cool.
guys.
Thank you.
See ya.
Have a
Thank you,
great
guys.
weekend.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Next time. Okay.